right, we are getting underway here. Round 8. Thanks for being with us. We got Richard Adams versus Douglas Bailey, and then the backup match we have Mac Endress versus Gabriel Nicholas. So, some players playing for prize money, for points, for the honor and respect of winning a camera match. Let's see who's going to take this one down. We've got Hammer versus 4-color control. And we're leading on Giver of Runes. All right. I feel like this is the first Hammer player that didn't lead on Esper Sentinel so far today.
I was going to say that or Sigarda's Aid. And actually, I think having Giver of Runes is going to be pretty instrumental in this matchup. So actually quite a nice one to start off with. And I think that Esper Sentinel also normally would be pretty good against a lot of the base deck lists for 4-color control.
Now, there's no guarantee that Richard Adams knows the opponent's deck at this point, but we're in the last round of the Swiss. You know, if you've had similar records for the last few rounds, you're possibly aware of what you're up against at this point. Maybe even likely.
And Douglas understanding well enough just how much that Giver of Runes could get in the way, and takes care of it with a bolt. Playing Graveyard in front, which is certainly a choice.
that is unusual. Okay, that's
okay. Thank you. That's more acceptable. Thank you.
Maybe Douglas heard you. Maybe he's listening to the coverage.
There should be a way for that to happen this time. Last event, having to cast while actually there and only being like 10 feet away from players was so nerve-wracking.
No, I can imagine. So we get things going here. I remember, I may have told this on stream maybe a year or so ago, but I'll tell it again because it's good. I remember in, it was like maybe 2016 or 2017, and there's a Grand Prix Los Angeles, and my mom and my sister drove over to just check things out and see what was what, having never been to a big event before. And then I'm playing on camera, and as we're starting the feature match, I kind of softly hear commentary, and I ask my opponent, like, do you hear commentary? And he's like, yeah. I was like, well, what the heck is this? So we tell we look at this table spot. We're like, do you hear commentary? They're like, yeah. So they go around, and it's my sister, like, standing at the rope, watching the coverage on her phone 5 feet away from us. So we're like, okay, well, we're gonna put a stop to that. But
it's so sweet, but also, yeah.
Anyway, all right. So we get things going here. Iteration resolves. Providing Douglas Bailey a little bit of boost in card advantage there.
And a Leyline Binding also taking out the second Giver of Runes. So we are not going to be giving any runes for Richard Adams. This is kind of interesting how full
get in there
control. Oh, the Ornithopter is just okay.
Sorry to cut you off there.
No, it's okay. That's an important thing to note. And Douglas said, yeah, all right, I'll take 0. I think it is kind of interesting to note just how much 4 and 5 color kind of control and elementals and these big like decks that would notably kind of suffer to Blood Moon are actually at the top tables here today, considering that it is not even close to one of the most popular deck choices. It's not even in like the top 7 of the metagame breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, and if we talked about, going back a year, the elementals decks were built a little differently. Going back a year, the 4-color control decks probably had, Magus of the Moon to Eldarming's Call for in the sideboard.
Yeah, exactly.
So things have definitely changed. I guess, the lack of Yorion changed the amount of free space in all these lists.
Yep.
So there's fewer basics and fewer room for extraneous situational tutor targets as Omnath just gets straight up cast. We see Omnath a lot of the time, on 4 mana with a land drop to come. Here we just see it straight up on turn 4 with no free land drop coming, but still sizable presence. And because of the 2 removal spells that Douglas has played, he probably has time to leverage this and then take advantage of it next turn.
Certainly could be true, as Richard trying to decide what the game plan is going to be with this. Urza Saga.
Let's do something. It looks like there's several lands still in hand. But no token made here.
Yeah, it looked to be at least 2 planes, so at least half of Richard's hand is at least going to help us get some mana onto the board, but that maybe isn't exactly what you would be hoping to see for Azorius Hammer.
I mean, if there's a Puresteel Paladin or something to draw out to force a pitch card from Douglas, I mean, at least that makes a lot of inroads into Douglas's hand.
I do believe that we were able to see a Puresteel Paladin in hand, and despite the 2 planes, we got to go with the Seachrome Coast. I believe we still have a colorless mana floating as well from the Urza Saga.
Yeah. So that, oh wow, there really isn't much left in Richard Adams' hand. So Inkmoth Nexus could animate here. I think we played Seachrome Coast already. Did we not?
Yeah, we played Seachrome Coast already, yeah.
Okay. And Douglas also notices that. All right. So Ornithopter will go big, and here's an attack. This 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess it's not quite enough to force Omnath to block here.
Not quite.
Darn close though.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like the other upside to Omnath is just that like you can kind of gain a lot of life incidentally if it sticks around. So, but it's also hard because you gotta be a little scared the moment you start to get hit by the hammer.
All right, so Nexus animates, and Richard Adams attacks for 14, I believe. Douglas Bailey conveniently at 15, and now 1.
All right, can this Omnath do work? What's going to be the situation here?
Omnath generally does work. Pad the life total, boost the mana up to something like 9. All right, there we go. Or alternatively, it is just the fetch on their turn and then gain life on each side. But Douglas needs to do something here. Look, Teferied hand.
Fetch land going to be start here alongside this Omnath, and decision's definitely looking to be a little bit rough, and putting yourself to 4, which is going to be falling to even just that construct on the side. It's not exactly where you would like to be for Douglas Bailey.
No, certainly not. And Douglas probably, I mean, I believe Richard still has 3 cards in hand. Douglas has got to be wary of that too. There's no way for him to know how bad Richard's hand is. All he really has to do is just be able to handle the board, which even that may prove more than he's capable of. Let's see. All right, Breeding Pool comes in tapped, or maybe that's just where it landed. Nope, looks like it's coming tapped. And that is Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. So a couple targets here. You could go for the hammer or the construct, I suppose.
Yeah, it's kind of a difficult decision because the hammer could come back, but that's by most accounts fine. And it does kind of shrink the construct as well by getting rid of it. The hard part is if you hit the construct like for sure isn't going to come back.
Right.
And this ends up potentially being risky if our opponent is able to find another copy of an equipment. But as we mentioned, Richard's hand, not the strongest thing in the world right now.
Kind of tragically, the construct can only attack for 3. So Richard cannot force Teferi to die here, I don't think, without giving up a lot. I mean, if the construct could be a 4/4, Douglas could attack. Richard could attack Douglas, and now it's All right, we can just fly. Yeah, okay. Richard can just fly over and kill it. Yeah, you're right. That works also. In fact, much cleaner. So just pretend I wasn't talking.
Inkmoth to the rescue.
They didn't rescue me.
Did not rescue you. It's okay. You didn't recognize the tattoo secret lair art of Inkmoth Nexus.
Yeah, we'll go with that plan. Yes, that's the story. All right, so Douglas Bailey here with some breathing space knows that Colossus Hammer is 2 cards down.
And hey, Douglas still in it and in a pretty okay spot to continue to gain life back because of this Omnath. That's gotta be so scary. Be like, yeah, I'll live at 1. All right, Omnath, do your thing.
Basic fetch at this time, so lots of mana available for Douglas. Wrenn and Six, nothing to kill. Was that a companion that just got picked up? I didn't actually see what happened there. Okay.
And now it's gonna cast Kahira. Has 1 mana still available, so it's just deciding, I think, how we want our mana to be spent.
Okay, 5 coming across here.
Getting some damage in. Life still a little bit of rough, but with where Douglas has been for kind of some time, it's just been, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, and I think that this counterspell held up here, so this position is actually beginning to look fairly stable and advantaged. I guess Richard does have the Urza Saga constructs on the way, and this does seem like it's going to be have to be a construct game. It's not going to be a light you up with 1-shot game because that's just didn't come together.
Yeah, there's like timelines for a lot of those, especially against control decks. You can kind of just by knowing what turn of the game it is, be able to tell like that game plan likely has faltered out. And that's just the situation that we're sitting in for this Azorius Hammer player right now, and just trying to cobble together as many constructs and as many artifacts as possible to try to swing for the last few points of damage. But this Omnath is making it really difficult to find this last bit.
Richard drew another land, I think.
Oh. Yeah, it looks like it's a Plains, a Spell Pierce, and then, another land. Yikes.
Yeah, okay. And nothing doing here, no attack. Well, there are constructs to be made, which is actually, I guess, and then Richard will draw a hammer and then be able to tutor for another hammer or whatever he wants at that point.
Yeah, and with the hammer, Puresteel Paladin's a little bit awkward. You'd probably prefer something like a Sigarda's Aid, especially with the Inkmoth Nexus, to be able to kind of do things at a faster pace than with Puresteel Paladin, but there's that Colossus Hammer. Now just deciding what we want to do with Saga.
Oh, there's plenty of mana available because of the Puresteel Paladin being in play. So yeah, making another construct seems like a good start. Now, the question is, what is Richard going to tutor for?
I feel like at this point it might just be something like Shadowspear.
That is often a reasonable thing to get, especially when you're hunting planeswalkers.
So it is the pickup, and it's going to come into play. They have a land drop still to make for this turn for Richard, and trying to decide, exactly how we're going to try and take out this Wrenn and Six before things amass a little bit too greatly back into Douglas's favor.
All right, so Douglas, I believe, well, I'm imagining what was going on there was saying like, hey, you already drew for the turn, and Richard saying, no, that was from the Shadowspear coming to play with Puresteel Paladin. But you're right about there being a land drop available. There is Colossus Hammer in hand. For Richard's sake, hopefully the hammer is the next thing that happens because it's going to get countered, and he doesn't know that at the moment. And that will probably influence how the rest of the turn shapes up. Even so, despite this hammer getting countered, the Shadowspear on the construct, I was going to say the biggest construct, the attack worthy construct is going to be sizable enough to make an impact here.
All right, we'll see what Richard can come up with. Trying to figure out exactly where and how we're dedicating this mana, trying to figure out where Shadowspear is being attached. Also, it seems like. Okay. Says I don't need to pay to attach Shadowspear because I've got a Puresteel Paladin and a lot of construct homies.
All right. Here is the counter spell. Yeah, the spell pierce not doing much good.
Yeah, you're it's unfortunate because so much of like the strength of this deck revolves around making early plays in the game. And so then you're kind of forced to play a lot of main deck things like spell pierce to make sure that you're able to get that game plan rolling. And so then some of the parts of those decisions end up hurting you at this point in the game where that initial game plan didn't really work out. All of your Giver of Runes got taken away. And as a result, all of your other creatures that are trying to hold a Colossus Hammer haven't been able to. So a sizable attack coming through once again, and Douglas just trying to figure out where that's going to end up going.
Yeah, and the Inkmoth Nexus is still waiting to be activated for the turn just to put a boost on these constructs, which Douglas should be well aware of as it happened last turn as well. You need just instant speed Wrenn and Six activation. Pick off the Inkmoth Nexus. Get out of here.
Yeah, Omnath is at least going to get an extra 4 life off of that fetch before deciding where exactly we're going to throw this Omnath. Is this...
So there's 5 artifacts in play right now. So Inkmoth would be 6, which would make the Shadow Spirit construct a 7/7. So Douglas could kill it, but it would cost him both of his creatures. So instead, it looks like Kahira is going to chump block on the non-trampling construct. Richard will gain some life, and Douglas will just look to set up a better opportunity for next turn.
Okay, and Wrenn and Six stayed alive. So this Omnath also sits in play, ready to gain more life with land drops. Made even easier by the existence of Wrenn and Six to make sure that we are able to get back all the fetch lands we could possibly want.
Neither player's hand is particularly good right now. But
Richard's board is starting to get big.
Sizable, yeah. And Ornithopter. That basically may as well read +1/+1 to all constructs, and that's it. And Douglas might actually be...
Now we've got 2 of them.
He might actually be justified in countering it. I mean, you're never going to actually do that, but...
Fair enough.
Is there...
I mean, you said that it was a 7/7, the one holding a Shadowspear last turn. So this time...
So it should
could
be
get
bigger.
Up to an 8/8.
I wonder if the Nexus should be attacking Wrenn and Six, because obviously we're nowhere close to Richard's nowhere close to winning with infect damage. But you can at least, since it has flying, okay, well, it doesn't matter. It's over anyway.
Yeah, I was kind of on your game plan as well. I figured like we have so much mana that we're not representing much of anything. Should there potentially be being some attacks there as well, as Richard Adams through a long game does manage to bring it together with the help of some constructs getting really big from the help of some Ornithopters.
Yeah, and with no help whatsoever from the spell pierce. So that's 2 rounds in a row where we've had Hammer players with Spell Pierce that just didn't do anything at all. Now, the other one was a Sideboard game. This is game 1, so we'll see if they're still in the deck next game or not. Maybe we can look at the deck list and see whether we can find some improvements to make. Start with Douglas Bailey's 4-color control deck.
All right.
Take a look here. No Furies, so it doesn't have as many advantages as the previous Incarnation deck did in the Hammer matchup.
That seems kind of rough. I feel like Fury is normally very good at being able to pick off quite a few small creatures. So interesting that we're seeing that omission, but it has been something that a lot of people have been cutting back on just because it gets harder and harder to. A lot of the cards that you have to pitch are cards that you end up wanting a lot of the time. And when all of your cards are just so powerful in this deck, you're kind of getting torn at from a lot of different directions to try and play things like Fury. And also a lot of your sideboard cards don't end up pitching to Fury, so you just end up kind of having it stranded a lot of the time. And so taking a peek at some of the things that this 4-color control deck could bring in, we could go towards something like Veil of Summer if we're potentially worried about things like those Spell Pierces, but I can't imagine that we'd be trying to go 1-for-1 like that. Whereas something like Chalice of the Void and these Engineered Explosives, the Besagus, have to kind of at least be leaning more towards winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah, the Chalice Explosives, Besagu all seem good. Supreme Verdict seems reasonable as well. I don't think you would want anything more than that. In fact, I'm not sure you want even all of that we just labeled off, but certainly not more than that. All right, let's go ahead and look at Richard Adams' sideboard, see what he's got real quick before they get ready. So we've got 3 Lavinias. Wow. That is a lot of Lavinia. All right. So Lavinia is the purpose in this matchup would be to shut off Solitude. It doesn't do anything else, I believe. Does that justify a slot? I'm not sure. What else do we have here? We have Reality Chip, good in grindier, longer games. Okay. That seems conceivable. Blacksmith skill. All right.
Yeah, Blacksmith skill like at least does a good job of making sure that your things can't get solituded. And I think also just like being able to pump your creatures plays nicer than something like 3 slots towards Lavinia. So I would be a little more inclined towards something like that.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. And I think, well, how many cards are we taking out here? I'll start with 2. I don't want Spell Pierce.
Are you feeling that way just because Spell Pierce has looked bad in the last few games? Or are you saying that because...
Looking bad is an understatement. We have seen, I believe, 3 drawn and none cast in the last hour. So
that's very fair. All right. Checking out these opening hands, trying to decide what the game plan is going to be. And it looks like Douglas Bailey did decide to bring in those Chalice of the Voids, potentially a pick up that is a little bit more important on the draw and could be, or on the play, excuse me.
On the play,
and
yeah,
is going to come down on 1 on the play here.
All right, chat points out that Lavinia also does have another effect. It pushes Leyline Binding to be required to effectively be cast for full.
Look at you, chat. You're so smart. And you're so smart that you should also hit that follow button.
They should indeed. I was going to say you're saying that too mockingly because they were absolutely correct on that. But you had other goals, other purposes in mind with your statement. So, okay,
exactly.
I'm on board.
All right, this Chalice on 1 going to make things a little bit more difficult for Richard, who does have a copy of Blacksmith skill and a few other 1-drops in hand, but Puresteel Paladin not going to be kept at bay for too long here.
Oh, no.
There's a Spell Pierce in hand? Is that what you're knowing?
Yeah.
How did I know?
All right, we'll see. Maybe this one will work out better. Chalice of the Void. No thanks.
The land that isn't Seachrome is a Secret Lair Hallowed Fountain, I believe.
Good call. I'm not even sure I would have identified that it wasn't another Seachrome. All right. Colossus Hammer gets picked off by Chalice of the Void. If things are as they normally are, at least some people in chat will be outraged at this attempt to cheat. But that is not cheating. You are perfectly allowed to do that. It's on your opponent to remember. Douglas Bailey is on top of things. And the Colossus Hammer goes to the graveyard.
And Douglas
Speaking
Bailey.
Of cheating, what is this, a Flash Oblivion Ring that costs 2 mana? Okay, that's fair too. All right.
Unfortunately, it is, and Douglas Bailey also pointing out that I did have to pay 2 for that, and now I am using all 3 of my mana to just put Kahira into hand with 7 cards in hand. So, I mean, all things considered, that's a pretty mopey turn 3, and seems like
Mhm,
the keep was once again, we're talking a lot about these keeps that are revolving a lot around a single card that is just considered to be good in a matchup.
mhm. Yeah, boy, I don't know if I've seen these Hallowed Fountains before, um, but yeah, those do look somewhat similar to the Seachrome Coast, don't they? You're right about that.
Mhm. They're quite nice, though. All right, Kahira making an appearance, and Douglas Bailey keeping every other thing very close to the chest there, and just waiting for a land to be able to make a little more action happen. And it looks like that will be coming in along with Kahira across the board there.
All right, so how good is Chalice of the Void against these hammer decks? If they don't have Stoneforge Mystic, it feels like it's crushing.
Yeah, I was about to say Stoneforge Mystic is like kind of the light for Azorius Hammer, and I would say that is also just like one of the better cards in the Azorius Hammer deck in general. So with this Chalice in play and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere, Richard decides to pick them up, and looks like we've got a game 3 on our hands between these two decks.
Yeah, yeah, we sure do. Okay, well, that one didn't take too long. We'll see. I don't know.
So,
Okay, we've got Hammer versus Control again. Hammer going first in game number 3.
mhm,
We were on the side of elementals last time, but last time there was Fury. That's different.
mhm.
Do we still feel? I mean, like you said, Chalice makes a big difference during player draw.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you actually, considering how impactful we got to see it be in that game, do you think
Hmm.
it's something that you would still keep in even if you're playing it after your opponent has the potential to play up to like 3 to 4 one drops?
I'm certainly less. If I was borderline on something else, then sure, maybe I'll
Okay.
swap it out. But we could still see longer games. Any game that's going to develop, and then you're going to play some removal spells. Well, 'cause I'm thinking it's the equipment. It's the Sigarda's Aid and the Colossus Hammer, and those are going to come down
Mhm.
earlier. A lot of the creatures are cost 2 or 0, or they're going to be on the board already.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I'm not so excited about it. I guess we're not cutting off any of our own spells, and we're probably not too concerned about our opponent's spell pierces, even though they keep being drawn.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm okay trimming them, I think.
Okay. It seems like kind of a tough decision because it ended up being so impactful in that game, but I'm kind of
Yeah.
with you. If we don't see Stoneforge Mystic, then everything just feels so much worse than I feel like it normally should.
Hmm.
So it could just be a situation where you're unfortunately just like, "Ah, I guess I gotta draw better." But that's how some matchups end up going.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't be afraid of mulligans, especially against decks as fast as this.
Absolutely, and you have to know that as, like, Azorius Hammer, a lot of the time, you have to be the one who's not afraid to
Hmm.
mulligan because you're trying to look for I mean, I don't wanna call out your top 8 match against Will Kruger last month, but
Yeah.
mulled to 5 and basically had a turn 2 kill.
Turn 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know that was that was lightning fast. Okay, we're looking at here. I think we've got 2 Esper Sentinels and a Saga, and I don't think we have other action. So shooting for a longer game is Richard Adams this time. And
Okay.
I guess, yeah, keeping a Sentinel and not a ton of action. Sentinels sometimes just draw into more action, as we saw card picked up from it already, and
Lavinia, I
it is a
think.
Lavinia. It's a gold card. I don't think there's
Mhm.
too many of those in the deck, so yeah, that would fit.
Unfortunately, not something we can cast if Urza Saga is our next land.
Sure
Okay, but
enough, but yeah, Richard's got plenty to do though.
Yeah, Esper Sentinel number 2 gonna make an appearance, and this was a card that we got to see Dominic play 2 of that just didn't end up being as impactful as it could have been against the version of the deck that was very focused on elementals and
Yeah.
less on control elements. Um, so already showing between being able to draw off of that prismatic ending, the difference that that is able to make.
Mm-hmm. So Wrenn and Six potentially coming down here. Yeah. Urchin will pick up another card, and then the Sentinel will eat it. So this is kind of an even exchange. Oh my goodness.
Joe Lisette.
Whoa. All right, I take it back. That was not an even exchange. That was heavily in favor of Richard Adams. Spell Pierce number 4 of the afternoon.
I think it's actually Spell Pierce number 5. There were 2 Spell Pierces in hand.
Okay.
And so it took 5 Spell Pierces for a really good one.
That one made up for a lot of the blank ones because that was huge. Esper Sentinel picked up a card anyway, and Wrenn and Six does not make it into play. Esper Sentinel stays alive. Here's Lavinia, and Richard Adams is off and rolling.
And Douglas is like, hold up, what's this card?
Yeah, all right. Well, let's bring up Lavinia.
Azorius Renegade.
Lavinia is certainly a somewhat awkwardly worded card. You can see there.
Yes.
2 mana, 2/2. That's the easy part. Whereas the board just explodes. And okay, we'll get to Lavinia second as Esper Sentinel's going to attack for 11 here.
Holy
and now,
smokes.
Yeah, all right. So basically, Douglas has to pay full price for cards. Leyline Binding will now cost 6. Also, no free casting Solitude. Those are the 2 main interactions for removal here. Douglas Bailey may have just been crushed. His posture in the chair shifted a little bit there. Yeah, I don't know.
Yep, an unfortunate place to be because, I mean, you're playing these 4 and 5 color decks to have the strength off of things like Solitude, to have the strength off of things like Prismatic Ending or even Leyline Binding, and then Lavinia kind of just takes all that away in a moment.
Yeah, I mean, it sure does. Maybe we're seeing why Richard Adams is playing 3 of them. Okay, Douglas Bailey, what do you got? There's explosives in hand. All right, that card still functions the way it's supposed to. Douglas at 3. Esper Sentinel's going to draw another card.
The unfortunate part here, too, for Douglas is that Windswept Heath, maybe we don't have a Hallowed Fountain or something to get, but we don't have any blue sources either. Oh, that's fair. All right.
Yeah. Richard Adams is like, I have 2 cards in my hand. They're both turbo bombs. You don't know. Just give up now. Douglas, all right, I'll blow all this stuff up.
And Lavinia remains.
Yeah. I don't know I don't know how Douglas can get out of this. There is a Solitude in hand, which was the whole point of Lavinia, cannot be cast for less than 5 mana. And Douglas is like, well, here's what I got. If you have anything, okay, we'll try to shake twice. And yeah, it's over with. Richard Adams defeats Douglas Bailey.
Yeah, 2 Solitudes and an Omnath in hand, not going to get there. And that would also be why we didn't look for a Hallowed Fountain. It was in hand. So unfortunately, just not coming together for Douglas at the end there. But congratulations to Richard, who takes that one home. And I do believe that we will have a feature match that is going to give us a little bit of an insight into top 8 as well.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, Richard Adams probably going to finish outside of the top 8. I mean, you never know. There could be a meteor strike in one specific part of the venue, or some players could get disqualified. But likely Richard Adams short of top 8. However, we do have a backup match, which does have top 8 implications. So it's ready to go. So let's go ahead and get that going. We have Mac Edris versus Gabriel Nicholas, 2 players that we've seen today already, and they are playing for a berth in the top 8. We'll get to the leaderboard maybe between games, but Mac Endris, I believe, came into the day 11th on the year-long leaderboard.
Mm-hmm. And this is going to be an interesting one to watch because I believe we already watched Gabriel beat a either Izzet or Jeskai Breach deck as well on the day. And basically just kind of take it down in 3 games by having action early and counter spells for combo pieces, as well as just being able to slowly eat away at graveyards.
All right. Well, an uncontested Ragavan is a great way to start for Gabriel Nicholas. And I mean, any player who's ever plays with Ragavan, I mean, this is just the dream, right? You play Ragavan turn 1, it just gets in. You're already like, I don't know what the exact calculations are, but I think you're already like 3 turns ahead at that point.
Certainly feels that way. Springleaf Drum for Mac.
Of course, you
Treasure.
have to have a land drop. Otherwise, you're giving back that advantage. Let's see. Yep, there is. Okay.
You think you would keep a 1-land hand?
With Ragavan? It happens. With Mishra's Bauble. In fact, we saw it happen today. 1-land Ragavan Mishra's Bauble, except the player missed the second land drop.
Yeah, see, I would just maybe be too scared. I'd be like, I'm the type of person, I'm gonna miss the next one, and so I'm just gonna play it safe. I'm gonna mulligan. That would be my exact thought process.
I mean, that's reasonable as well. We certainly saw, I believe it was Adam Wasper Moses a few rounds ago, take a extremely conservative approach, and that is probably the only reason he won his match.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, so playing aggressive and playing conservative, both have their merits, both have their times.
Whoa. Not being conservative here, though, using Archmage's Charm and sacrificing our treasure that we made from Ragavan to do so to counter Ledger Shredder.
Well, we're going to get a new treasure, aren't we?
You're right. And of course, because the Ledger Shredder is not in play to block our precious monkey.
Yeah. I mean, we get a recurring supply of treasures, and maybe the monkey will actually find a playable card off the top of the deck.
All right, let's see. Mac is basically playing the same deck as us. Oh, is that a good one? We have a Ragavan.
Sure, it makes mana. Yeah, we got 2 mana. We got a treasure and a mox.
Yeah,
and it triggers Ledger Shredder. Wow, nice turn.
Big
that worked out really well, man. I want to see one of these events. I want to see, maybe we'll save for the championship. I want to see Ragavan hit and exile Thassa's Oracle, and the combo is just disabled. Right there.
That would be heartbreaking. But also now I kind of want to see it too.
All right, Mac Endress. Needing to get things going here. Certainly on the back foot off the start. Springleaf Drum and Mishra's Bauble in play. There is an iteration in hand, but needs some removal. Another Shredder.
We're shredding. And yeah, being on the play has done wonders to open up the world for Ragavan for Gabriel Nicholas, and that has kind of caused a boom on that side of the board.
All right, there's Nemri, representing probably the reason why Mishra's Bauble was left on the board instead of cracked immediately, because the possibility of discount exists. I think we still need more mana for that. There we go.
There we go. Oh, what do we got? Conniving, because that's the second one for Mac. So nicely keeping on top of that.
Yeah, very nice for Gabriel Nicholas being able to pitch 2, at this point, coming to play tap lands.
Amidst Mac resolving this expressive iteration is like, oh, what did you discard? Gabriel's just like 2 Spirebluff Canals. All right, Sacred Foundry going to be what's put up here, as well as Ragavan of our own. Unfortunately, now it feels like our Ragavan is less welcome on this board than
Yeah,
the
sure. Still,
flock of Ledger Shredders and our opponent's Ragavan.
yeah, there's actually not a way for Gabriel, it doesn't look like, to get through this Ragavan right now. So I guess maybe his Ragavan stays home and just enables the Mox to make mana. I guess he can consider, he can find, I mean, he's got 2 Ledger Shredders on the board. He's going to look at a million cards this turn. He'll find a removal spell.
Yeah.
And maybe target Emery with it anyway, but still, we'll see.
I mean, there certainly are some reasons why you would continue to target Emery. It is a great way to continue to enable this game kind of being snagged out from under your feet. So would respect Gabriel for going for that. And we can certainly still do a lot of attacking with just these Ledger Shredders.
What just happened? Well, we can tell Gabriel Nicholas is not watching coverage between rounds because he just thought for 10 seconds on his consider, and it ended up being a spell pierce he decided to keep.
No. Well, his opponent has not as many lands as him.
Oh, there is. Oh, is that?
It's
is
a
that
petty theft.
I've never seen that artwork
Secret
before.
lair.
All right. All right. Well, hold on here. Petty theft, brazen bars. Yeah, there we go. Pitching Murtide, keeping Spell Pierce. The Spell Pierce is a completely respectable card. I'm just on an anti-Spell Pierce kick after the last 2 hours of them. Now, I mean, maybe
I appreciate that statement. I appreciate pointing out the fault even on your end and owning up to it and being like, it's a good card. It just has not looked good today.
Yeah, and even the last one, I am reverse recency bias. It was terrible 4 copies in a row. The 5th one was great, and I still haven't recovered from that one. My mindset is glued to the other 4 that just sat uncast.
All right, well, we'll see if this one is going to be as much of a banger as the previous Spell Pierce to counter Wrenn and Six that we saw on the match prior to this one. Unfortunately, does not do very much against this Ether Spellbomb.
No, but then this Ether Spellbomb doesn't do a whole lot either. And it's going to counter it anyway.
Oh, okay.
All right, Ether Spellbomb, you're out of here. So Gabriel Nicholas wants to maintain the clock. Now, if Mac Andrews wants to play anything else this turn, Gabriel will get to connive and potentially grow these Shredders up some more.
Very, very true. Hold up. I get that you're dashing. I get that you're trying to play fast, but allow for me to connive my Shredders.
Yeah, finds a bolt, pitches a counter spell, hands over a Steam Vents. Macron's just like, oh, that's not enough. And yeah.
Yeah, and Gabriel, I think that was 7 damage on board. So I think Gabriel also went, I found the bolt.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. And 1 game closer to the top 8. Let's I know we've seen these deck lists earlier today, but not everyone has been watching all day long. Some of you less devoted fans have only shown up for the last 5 hours. So let's go ahead and put the deck list up for them too.
Hey, even if you're a less devoted fan, thank you for being here. And as restitution, you can hit that follow button.
All right, Mac Andrus, Jeskai, Breach, playing for top 8 here. Came close to making top 8 at the last event, but ran into the buzzsaw that is Tron.
Joe says that because it was Joe.
What? My story was over. I wasn't saying anything about me. My story was done. That Mac Andrews lost to Tron, in the later rounds of the day. Anyway,
right. I also am not sure if Honorog and the party, this raid that is coming in, happened before or after I said to follow. But if you're new here, hi. Thanks for coming from Honorog stream. Thank you so much. And if you're going to enjoy the coverage, want to see some modern action, like watching Paper Magic, consider hitting that follow button. Anyway, we can go back to Jeskai Breach now.
All right. So we got Jeskai Breach versus Blue Red Murktide. If you're just joining us, we're in round 8 of the Swiss, the last round of the Swiss. We've got Blue Red Murktide in the hands of Gabriel Nicholas up a game. Mac Andrews looking to recover here. So you can see the list there that we used up a bit of time there. So let's just go to their list, and then probably the players are about ready. So can we see Mac Endress Jeskai Breach list?
Oh, we were just looking at that. Now we're on Gabriel
Yes,
Nicholas.
we were.
Is at
I just looked at my notes and got confused. You were right. Okay, Gabriel Nicholas is at Murktide list, who is up a game right now on the back of the turn 1 on the play unopposed Ragavan, which occasionally does do wonders, as we saw there. And even that wasn't really wonder. What do you get? A Mox out of it? I mean, that's not anything super exciting, but
except for that we're getting a Mox with our legendary monkey.
Yeah, true.
Kind of seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, and some treasures. No, it worked out well. I mean, if we didn't specify what Mox it was, it could have been. I guess it was basically a Mox Ruby, right? It didn't tap for blue.
All right, let's just go ahead. As we've taken a look, we've kind of talked about this before. Those unlicensed hurts are something that we know that Gabriel Nicholas brings in. Something like those mystical disputes would be quite good as well. Potentially the engineered explosives. So let's go right down into this next match, as a round timer has been called for round 8, but we're going to continue to watch these time shifted matches so that we can eat up some of this difference in time between top 8 and your viewing of this round number 8.
Right, indeed. So, Mac Endress here looking to recover. No turn 1 Ragavan on either side. In fact, a Sacred Foundry fetched out for Mac Endress, so building towards the future. This is obviously primarily a blue-red deck, but if you're going to get a tap land, you may as well do it early, get the other color enabled. Do you see an Emery in hand? Do we have an artifact to enable that to come down this turn? No.
Oof. Unfortunate start there for Mac Endress. Island in play, so putting counter magic online likely for Gabriel, as we didn't deploy something like that expressive iteration that's in hand either, or potentially just saving it for the next turn so that we can get a land as well. Lightning Bolt takes care of the bird. We're just bolting a different bird now. It's a different time, people.
Yeah.
The year's 2022.
Notable that Gabriel had the choice there. He had Lightning Bolt and Mystical Dispute in hand, so either one could have taken out the Ledger Shredder. Chose to go with Bolt, save the dispute for later on. We'll see how that works out, as this is a combo deck. Well, this is a combo-capable deck, and the combo doesn't really need blue mana. So Mystical Dispute is no guarantee that it's going to work out great later on. Against Emery, either card works, and here is Dispute catching Expressive Iteration, which, I mean, that's something Lightning Bolt cannot do.
Yeah, Gabriel was like, I kind of like expressive iterationing to try and find lands. I imagine my opponent might be trying to do the same thing. How about not?
Yeah, how about not indeed? Mac Endress in need of some help here. Here's another Ledger Shredder. Here's a bobble.
Hey, all right, that could help. Oh.
Well, that's okay. If he finds a land here, it'll still be functional. And he
that might have been an Otawara?
I'm not sure what it was.
There's an Otawara or a counterspell. And as I'm not sure the types of different arts that Mac plays, I can't say for certain.
All right. While Mac's figuring out this connive trigger, new people in the chat asking some questions. All right. What do we got left today? This is round 8. We've got the quarterfinals left today. After this, that'll be it. The morning, we're going to have the semis and finals of the Modern Showdown.
Did we just discard the Otawara? That is an Otawara. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. But
no, it is an Otawara. So Mac just was like, you know what? I like these other cards more than I feel like I need my land drop.
Okay. All right. That says a lot about the potency of cards in your hand.
Yeah, I suppose you're right that it does.
Holy smokes. And then Gabriel's like, yeah, I'll play an 8/8 dragon. Mac goes, excuse me, you'll what?
Yeah, wow. Okay, well, Unholy Heat's not going to stop that. Emery,
sorry,
okay.
You were also explaining the format, and I was just like so floored that we got
No, it's good. I mean, I was going to miss that because I was looking at the chat and going to address some topics. But yeah, no, you're good. That was important. You're absolutely right.
Talk to me, not the people. No, you can talk to the people.
Oh, I've been chastened. All right, so we got Pioneer 5K tomorrow throughout most of the day. Just the first few rounds are going to be the finale of the Modern event. What else did I see? There was other questions, I believe. Oh, were deck lists available? Deck lists will be available once we move into the top 8, which we are not in yet. But if you hang around for, I don't know, half an hour or so, they will be available. Any deck list in the event. Which actually, yeah, we may not be too far away from top 8 here if this 8-8 goes unopposed.
Yeah, I was going to say, also round 8 has actually been called. This is a time-shifted match, so we likely are fewer than 30 minutes away from deck lists being available.
Perhaps. Could they not draw in? Likely not. The top 3 tables drew, I believe was what we were told. This was table 5. So, as is not uncommon, 3 tables safely drew in, which is 6 players. And then table 4 and table 5 played for the last 2 slots. I'm not 100% that's what happened, but I believe that is likely.
I love play this second Murktide, grow the other Murktide, and it gets to hit before Teferi is able to say that goes back to hand. Unholy Heat, so we don't even have to worry about our precious Murktide Regent throwing any of its damage anywhere other than Mac Endress's face.
Right. Gabriel Nicholas keeps his pen very tightly picked there. It was on top of 4 of his land there when this turn started. That seems somewhat in the way, but to each their own. Handle your permanents however you want. And Murktide comes across for just 5, which is, better than 8, I guess, from Mac Endress's perspective.
That is certainly true. Life total's not accurate here. I feel that's worth mentioning. And if I had to guess, with the amount of large dragons that have done some attacking. Oh, okay. We're at least going to stop some amount of attacking here. Didn't counterspell the one onto Murktide Regent, but we would like to keep this Darcy okay. Safe and dress down, so we at least become a 3/3 and are trying to keep it safe from a delirious unholy heat. Whoa! Whoa!
See,
okay.
Spell Pierce, I told you. What do you,
Excuse me, what did you just say to me, Joe?
Spell Pierce never going to work.
Stop trying to make Spell Pierce happen.
That's what the players are trying to do. I'm trying to save them the step. All right. There is Dash Dragon Man. Mac Endress is defeated. So sorry that match got away from us there a little bit at the end, but Gabriel Nicholas does improve to 7-1 and will advance into the top 8 with his blue-red Murktide deck. And a lot of the elite players in the room are playing Breach, and Gabriel Nicholas seems to have their number. So maybe looking good for a strong finish. In addition to the points race, remind you again, even though if you've been here all day, you've heard it a few times, the winner of this event gets direct entry into the Nerd Rage Championship. So lots on the line in addition to the money prizes. That is the conclusion of the Swiss. I will now await direction as to whether we're taking a break or whether to stay here and answer questions or hang out or what the heck they want us to do. All right. We are going to take a break and come back for top 8. We'll have brackets. Matt will probably sum up the event, show you where you're at. We have one more round of coverage left today, and then we're going to pick it up tomorrow morning at 9 Eastern, which is the time zone of the event, 8 Central if you're Nerd Rage local, and very early if you are out west like Becky and I.
It's 6 a.m. for us, so...
Yeah. All right, so we'll be back in a few minutes with top 8 brackets. Stick around.